Good afternoon, Annakaisa. So greetings from sunny Vilnius today. I hope you are fine.
I'm fine, thank you. And envious of your sunshine. It's so grey here in Finland.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it, that we still have some similarities, not only in lifelong learning, but seems in weather as well. So, and our audience is eager to hear your insights on the possibilities how to strengthen motivation to participate in lifelong learning. What are your insights? So, Annakaisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon and greetings from Finland to all of you. As presented, I'm Annakaisa Tikkinen from the Finnish Innovation Fund, Citra, working in a project on lifelong learning, and I'm really happy for this opportunity to share with you some of the thoughts Citra has on lifelong learning, especially from the perspective of motivating individuals to become lifelong learners. I'll begin with a couple of words of Citra, what it is and what's at the core of our work. Then I'll move on to our project's concept on lifelong learning, and I will introduce a survey we made on lifelong learning and discuss some of the results we've found. Well, first of all, 5 things about Citra. Our operations are funded by returns from an endowment originally granted by the Finnish Parliament in 1967 as a 50-year birthday present to Finland, and we see ourselves as the future house for all of Finland. We report directly to the Finnish Parliament. We're not answerable to the government in power at any time or to any political parties or trends, but to the Parliament itself. At the moment, we have 3 main themes. They include sustainability solutions, fair data economy, and democracy and participation. We see that everyone in Finland has a role to play in building the future. At Citra, we strongly believe that the future is made together. Instead of a traditional think tank, we call ourselves a think, do, and connect tank. We do research and provide information, but we also fund trials and pilots in our do role. And thirdly, in our connect role, we bring people together, bring organizations together and facilitate conversation and policy making. We think that the best result is achieved when the right people and right organizations find each other and make renewal possible. The Future Fund's work, it's based on an understanding of potential future developments and mega trends. Megatrends, the directions of development consisting of several phenomena that describe wide-ranging processes of change. They often occur at a global level, and it's often believed that they will continue in the same direction, so mega and trend. They shed light on phenomena that stand out in the operating environment at the moment. And I know that this might seem a bit far away from the topic today, but this is to describe our approach, aiming to grasp the bigger picture and move on from there to create systemic change. This picture shows some key tensions. Ecological reconstruction is at the heart of everything, but there are many changes taking place around it. And I'll name just a few of these, not go through the whole picture. Well, as we know, the population is aging. Life expectancies have grown longer and the population is aging, and at the same time the birth rate has declined. This is a very topical conversation in Finland, and this means that the size of the working age population will decrease. Population forecasts also show us that the population will become more concentrated in a small number of growth centers. For a area-wise big country like Finland, this is a big topic. The population is also diversifying with regard to working life and attitudes, and people are working in new ways and new industries. Some of the old classifications we have no longer apply. A lot has been said about the transformation of work, especially in connection to digitalization and new ways of working. Lifelong learning and the continuous development of competence are emphasized in that context. And of course, as we all know, the technological process, it not only helps us to do things quicker or at lower cost, it also changes the way we do things and challenges the way we further employ this new technology. Our project on lifelong learning began in 2018, and all aspects of our think, do, and connect, they're present in our work. But above all, we see our position as a builder of bridges. So the connect role emphasizes in our work. There are many organizations in the field of lifelong learning and education in general, and we wish to bring them together, and that's what we've done in our project. Our goal is defined as providing a basis for long-term joint development of lifelong learning in Finland by supporting these key social actors in instigating systemic change. And when we began our work, our project on lifelong learning, we gathered together 30 actors in the society to form a mutual understanding and a shared aim for lifelong learning. These actors included, for instance, representatives from ministries, labour organisations, education providers, and such. And this figure here shows how these actors understand the purpose of lifelong learning. As you can see from the left-hand side, there are 3 levels: the society, community, and individual level. The community level here refers to, for instance, employing organizations or educational institutions and such. The society level is related to mainly general education and inclusion, as well as the financial sustainability and competitiveness that can be achieved by improved competence. At the community level, lifelong learning is about, well, competitiveness, competent labour, learning organizations, and an active civil society. And thirdly, for individuals themselves, lifelong learning offers keys to economic success, the ability to engage in democratic participation, and an opportunity for continuous personal growth. And this is the level I'll be examining today. When we started formulating the shared aim, we also recognized that there are some change drivers, these phenomena which will force a change in the basic assumptions upon which the present Finnish education system and the practices for competence development are built on. I will outline briefly 2 of these recognized change drivers. Firstly, the speed of change that's challenging the existing systems. Technological advancements, they are a good example. We all know them in our lives. The faster the technology advances, the faster competence needs to be updated to ensure that the productivity of work can be boosted with the help of new technology. However, improving competence cannot mean completing a new qualification or a part of a qualification each step of the way, but in the future it must be made possible for everyone to combine education, work, and spare time into a goal-oriented entity of learning. Another change driver we recognized is the increasing diversity. Diversity in itself is such a broad topic that the 20+ minutes I have for this presentation is drastically insufficient to cover it, so therefore I won't even attempt it. But the key takeaway is that the diversity will be the new normal. Learning cannot be fitted to a one-size-fits-all solution, and support, guidance, and parts of learning, they all need to be individualized to a greater extent than today. And then building on all this and more, the group of 30 actors in society came up with these 4 theses defining the aim for lifelong learning. The first thesis is that everyone learns throughout their lives. So number 1 at the bottom, active participation and a willingness to improve oneself create the preconditions for the individual's and society's well-being. The second thesis on general knowledge, basic skills and competence, they relate mainly to the education system that provides all with this basis. The third steps then describe how competence development and working life are linked. And finally, the fourth thesis sums how all this is the foundation for Finland's success, thus securing the funding for welfare society, where everyone can learn throughout their lives, returning to the first thesis. But the yellow arrow describes the shortcut we need to thesis number 3, as the circle in itself would be an oversimplification, and I'll return to that later on in the presentation. Current discussion about lifelong learning also includes a relatively broadly shared view that we are shifting or have already partly shifted from a life cycle divided into 3 phases, where studies, working career and retirement follow each other, to a new situation which is characterized by the alternation and overlapping of working and learning. So before the 3 consecutive sections in life, first studying, then the employment, and finally the retirement, has more often switched to a system where learning happens through life in different environments. We work in different roles, in different relationships, and all that builds to the competencies we have. And then retirement more and more often isn't a clear-cut point in one's life, but it happens gradually when you're moving away from working life. So lifelong learning is becoming and already is a necessity. And the question is, how do individuals see this necessity? And instead of guessing, we asked them. In 2019, we conducted a survey for 2,000 respondents on lifelong learning. From ages 18 to 85, we asked what are the Finnish people's experiences, views and opportunities regarding lifelong learning. And I will have a closer look on what they said through some key findings of the questionnaire. So, first of all, it became very evident that people learn in a variety of environments, schoolwork, hobbies, relationships, etc. What was interesting is that 58% of Finns would like to share their know-how more for other people. 69% of Finns find that they have competence that could be used more in the society, and 40% told that it's not easy to tell about their own skills. We asked them also to evaluate these statements shown on the slide. Just to name a few, 89% agreed with the statement saying all-round education it's in itself valuable. 88% agree that learning and competence increase people's well-being. 82% find that succeeding in society requires constant learning of new skills. So fairly high numbers. What we determined from this and some of the other data too is that lifelong learning evokes significantly more positive than negative emotions. Finns seem to be eager to learn, and competence is developed for life, for the individuals themselves, in a wide array of things they do, not only for work. We found that these are quite good news, since a positive attitude is a better ground for fostering motivation in comparison to referring it to necessity you just have to do in order to survive and succeed. Learning is something that does good for you as well, not just something that is required to do to maintain economic growth. But then for many of us, 40%, it isn't easy or obvious to recognize our competences, knowledge and skills, let alone telling about them to other people. In addition to the questionnaire, we did some focus group dialogues. There we encounter thoughts of self-criticism. Oh, well, I can do this, but someone else is better. Modesty, which is very typical to Finns. Oh, it's nothing. And just overall uncertainty on when one's competence is good enough to be called competence. And based on all this, the questionnaire and the focus groups, the observations we made, we decided to call together some partners, 350 organizations altogether, and we had 2 action weeks in September to promote lifelong learning, in particular from the point of view of recognizing the skills we have. The video I'll show next was made for those weeks, and I think this might just be the international premiere, so I hope you'll enjoy it. And technical support, can I please ask you to show the video now? Hope you liked it. It's really important what Antra spoke before about the maybe underrepresented groups in terms of lifelong learning and competence development. And we decided that we want to reach those audiences we probably don't usually reach. So we chose our media partners so that we would get this message to those programs that reach people with maybe a lesser extent of education, formal education, and it went pretty well. For 2 weeks, we had a really nice energy and discussion on competencies and skills in a positive light. But let's have a closer look on where the new competencies arise. Well, we already stated that the environment. Little exercise for you next. Think about the following question. I'll give you 15 seconds. In what contexts do you feel that you have learned important skills? 15 seconds, go ahead. Thank you. We asked the 2,000 respondents the same question, and here's what they said. Do you recognize any similarities to what you just came up? So family life and relationships, they rank first. Other people are also a good mirror for us in recognizing our competencies. Think, for instance, what do other people ask you to help them with? Personally, this year I've started to learn knitting woolen socks. My mother taught me how to do it with the first one. I'm a very impatient learner, but luckily she's a very patient teacher. So incredibly, we're still in speaking terms. Working life is a close second when people think about learning new skills. And as you can see, learning can happen nearly anywhere. When asked for the 2 most meaningful ways to develop your skills in the future, the respondents' 2 favorite answers were along work and independent learning, for example, online. And indeed, after my first woolen sock, I have turned to YouTube instruction videos just to maintain the friendly terms I have with my mother. But the takeaway from all this is that if the learner's preferred way of learning is to learn along work or independently, then those are the ways we need to further develop. And let's return then to our 4 theses for lifelong learning and have a closer look at the shortcuts I mentioned earlier. So competence improves working life and working life improves competence. To motivate lifelong learning, we cannot have people going around the circle, returning to develop their competences in the education system alone. But after there is a basis for acquiring new competences and skills, we should provide opportunities and recognize the learning taking place at working life. And if and when we want every Finn to participate in continuous competence building, we must recognize that the resources for developing competence available to individuals or for families, for instance, are limited, and they're limited in different ways in various phases of life. For instance, the resource that the working age population and working adults most often lack is time. This emphasizes the role of workspaces, workplaces as learning environments and enablers of learning. In quite many situations, I would imagine changing salaried employment for study, even a part-time study, is not economically feasible or motivating. Therefore, new competence is increasingly created in changing working life and in other informal places of learning. This is something we're striving towards. It's not the reality at the moment for everyone, but it's something that we see should be aimed for. In order to reach this goal, we have determined certain policy goals, which I won't go through here, but overall, our goal is to change the way of thinking about strengthening competences. Shared expertise, the generation of new knowledge and competence building, improve the quality of work, lead to success at work and increase productivity. This is the reason why people and organizations seek to join learning ecosystems in which research directly contributes to the development of the activities. And at the same time, learning becomes more effective for everyone. We strive for a Finland that creates operating preconditions for networks in which the producers and users of information meet each other. And we see it as the society's advantage that as many learning networks as possible are open to everyone. No one has a monopoly on education or learning, but it's a joint effort. And this is also from the questionnaire showing what are the many ways that an individual can develop their skills in working life. One important aspect I didn't include in this presentation is that we asked them whether their employer has reserved or allocated time for learning in their job descriptions, and a third of the respondents said that there isn't a particular allocation for that. So that's something that should be worked on. And then returning to Citra's vision as it is defined in our strategy, we see that the basis for well-being is in the Nordic ideals combined with the European value base. So beautiful words such as non-discrimination, equality, appreciation of nature, comprehensive building, rule of law, democracy and fairness. And our goal is a fair and sustainable Finland that is capable of renewal. And it requires knowledge, skills, enthusiasm, even bold decisions and extensive cooperation. And we really need all hands on deck. For individual people, this means, for example, that everyone has the opportunity of lifelong learning and development, and that they want to use this opportunity. I'm not sure if there's a one silver bullet for strengthening motivation for lifelong learning. I really liked what Antra said earlier in her presentation, how everyone's competences should count, and that's something I also want to stress. One important key is to recognize that everyone has valuable skills, and it is a joint effort for all of us, educators, employers, family and friends, to make everyone see them and put them to use. But here's my presentation. Thank you very much. And now, if I haven't exceeded my time, we have some time for questions. And more than questions, I would really love to hear your comments on this and if you recognize similar trends in Lithuania. Thank you.
Thank you, Annakaisa. I wish we could have, a little bit more time to discuss and to compare Lithuanian experience and experience in Finland. But I think that your project is really inspiring for many institutions who are now probably sitting next to their screens and listening to you. And we have one of the questions actually coming from the audience. The question comes from Vilma, and she asks, the age of retirement in many Nordic Baltic countries is actually increasing step by step. Now, at first, many years ago, we had a retirement system when we had to retire at the age of 55, then 65. Now, in some countries, there is 75 and so on. So her question is related to when she should start improving her competences for her own quality of life, but not for the purpose of being or remaining competitive in the market. So if the age of retirement is increasing every 5 years or every 10 years, when she thinks she should stop and start to think about competences which could help her to improve her quality of life, but not to remain competitive in a labor market?
A very good question. Thank you for this. Well, I think that as the one picture showed about the one long arrow, is that you can't really separate in your life what's for yourself and what's for the society or the community you work for. Everything you do for yourself is at the same time something you do for others. So my woolen sock maybe is something that has to do with the personal aspects and well-being of my life. But what I do for myself, it activates a desire to further develop other aspects too that contribute to my employer, although I haven't made them any woolen socks at this point yet, but maybe at some point. I wouldn't want to separate these different stages in life, that this is just for me and this is just for you and for someone else, for my employer, but to find how to say it, I'm losing the word, a mindset to learn throughout your life, regardless of who is the recipient of that good. Thank you.